I'm excluded from my brother-in-law's wedding because of my age.
What? Am I a child in this story?
So my future sister-in-law, Katie, 35 female, doesn't like me. I think she looks down on me. My husband, Gabe, 21 male, and I, 19 female, have an almost 19-month-old daughter. We do live with Gabe's parents for now, but have a plan to move out. They help with their daughter a lot, and we're so grateful. By the way, this comes from Crimp Cripper, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OKStorytime subreddit. I'm Sophia!
And I'm Angie.
And OP says, Katie got engaged to Gabe's brother Lewis, 32, over Thanksgiving, and their wedding is in June. I was kind of shocked since they've been dating for less than a year, but very happy for them. Gabe has 2 other brothers. The older middle one, Manuel, has a long-term girlfriend who I love and is literally the sister I never even had, even though she's 10 years older than me. And his other brother has a new girlfriend who's quiet, but seems cool. But Katie, she's such a mean girl.
No.
Like, I feel as if I'm back in high school sometimes around her. I know she has some reasonable complaints about me, but none of them are really things I can help. I think she just thinks I'm stupid or clueless. She asked Becca to be a bridesmaid, which is obviously her choice, but the other 5 are her 2 sisters, Ellie, 30, and Gretchen, 21, and 3 friends. I know I'd be younger than everyone else, but it kind of hurt not being asked, even though I'm glad I'm not. Of course, Gabe is going to be a groomsman, and our daughter is going to be a flower girl. So Katie's reasoning is that I need to be watching our daughter, which is also why I'm not invited on the party bus, even though Gina is. The reception is adults only, and I've already asked my best friend if she can babysit our daughter that evening, with a backup babysitter in case anything happens.
Beautiful.
Last week, we went to Katie's parents' house for my daughter to try on the flower girl dress, and it was awful. To start, Katie's sisters were there, and she insisted that Gabe and her sister Gretchen take pictures together since they'll be paired up at the wedding. That doesn't bother me, but Gretchen kept referring to me as his girlfriend, even though he corrected her a few times. He's going to graduate from college this year and is in a sorority, but doesn't seem to like me much either. I feel like I'm pretty aware of when people don't like me and sometimes try to make them like me, even though it's stupid. So I brought up the reception because she was talking about changing shoes, and I was like, oh, you can put yours in our car if you need, since I'm sure I'll be driving. I know it's weird. I don't know why I do that. But Gretchen seemed really confused about why I'd be there. What? What? I was with her, Ellie, and my mother-in-law when she brought it up. Basically, she said the reception was 21 and up only.
No.
I was so embarrassed. Why? But, like, why? Like, I've been looking for outfits and have even mentioned one a few minutes before. My mother-in-law did remind her I was married to a groomsman, and Gretchen was like, oh, it's a venue rule, I think. Liar. And went to talk to Katie. I wanted to pass away, but the party wasn't over, and I was driving everyone back to our house. I think Ellie noticed how upset I was and told me she thought it would be fine and not to worry, and then tried to change the subject to how cute my daughter would look. So now your daughter's gonna be a flower girl in this wedding, and you're not even allowed to come to the reception?
Yeah. Like,
Also, your daughter's like
Come on.
1.5.
yeah.
How's she get a flower girl? That's crazy.
Well, I mean, maybe the idea is that she would, like, be walked down holding hands.
Yeah, so, yeah.
Maybe,
Who's
I
walking
don't
her
know.
down? I wanted to leave so bad, but of course my daughter was totally fine and having fun. So I just faked it and pretended like I wasn't passing away inside and dropped it. We ate pizza with them, and my father-in-law made, like, not a toast, but was just saying how he was excited to get another daughter. And Becca made a face and whispered something to her sister, which was kind of awkward. She gave me a super fake smile, too. The thing is, Katie isn't some cartoon villain that everyone hates or anything. She's so nice and gracious to everyone else. So she even was a little too over the top about my daughter looking cute in the dress, which was nice. But you know when you just know someone looks down on you or doesn't like you. And I obviously want everyone to like me. I'm nice and funny and smart.
Right.
I know I make mistakes, but she treats my husband so much better than me. Now I'm nervous to talk to Gabe because I know if he knew about any of this, it would cause a fight. Not between us, but with him and Luis and Katie. And I'm not trying to make their wedding anything about me. Like, if I don't have to go to the reception, that's fine. That's the stupid dress for our daughter she picked out was over $300.
Wow.
So maybe I'd save money. And I know Gabe doesn't like her. He even made a comment wondering how long the marriage would last to his mom, and she shushed him on the way home, but even she laughed. I did talk to my in-laws and husband casually, and mother-in-law basically said Gretchen is an idiot and didn't know what she was talking about. They think it's insane to think I'm not invited. Mother-in-law said she would talk to Luis, but I asked her not to. I don't want to cause drama, I just want to know. But Gabe said if I'm not invited, he's not going. So now I don't want him to miss out on his brother's wedding and just feel like a piece of crap for bringing it up. Am I being overly sensitive? I mean, like, he was gonna find out that you weren't invited.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, how would he feel if, like, he's having a fun time at the wedding? Oh my gosh, so nice. This reminds us of our wedding. I love you. And then you're just like, okay, yeah, go on without me. Like, you just have to
have fun.
Yeah.
I'll be over here drinking a glass of milk.
Right. Like, I doubt he's gonna like that either.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you're definitely not overreacting, though.
No.
I would be upset, too.
But there is an update. So I was going to confront Katie myself. This is ultimately between us, and I am an adult. But Friday night, we were just hanging out, and Katie's sister Gretchen had texted Gabe this TikTok of a bridesmaid and groomsman doing like a dance walk-in and was like, hey, LOL, we should do this. It was stupid, but also low-key kind of romantic or spicy. He was going to ignore it, but I was like, you're gonna have to see her and she'll bring it up. So he said it would be better for Becca and Manuel, his brother and his brother's girlfriend, who are both in the wedding. Then at one point later, she responded and was like, oh yeah, that's cool. I'm sure you're excited for a night off from the girlfriend and baby. He was pretty pissed off and I was kind of shocked she'd say that, but told him he should probably ignore that one. Because I know girls like that and they hate being ignored, you know? He was going to ignore it but kept getting mad about it and just responded that was a weird thing to say and that I would be there. So at that point, I'm like, okay, yeah, you and Louise should talk. The brothers and their dad get lunch at the same spot every Saturday. It's not mandatory and they miss a lot, but the next day they went and afterwards they hung out a bit. Gabe basically brought it up and asked Luis to switch him off from Gretchen because she was creeping him out. Luis was shocked he brought up the reception because he hadn't heard anything about it. He said Gretchen was probably just being nice and to cut Katie some slack because they were trying to plan a wedding in a short amount of time. Then, and I love my husband, but he thought this would be a great time to be like, well, maybe you shouldn't rush it so much. Then Luis was like, why would I listen to you? You're still in mom and dad's basement. Which, like, yeah, fair point. But just an FYI, Luis totally lived here on and off until he was like 30. Just saying. And they fought more. Gabe said they didn't fight about me, and honestly, between me and Reddit, their family fights a lot. But it's just always fine. Like, they're kind of dramatic. You just get used to it. They don't stay mad. But I guess for whatever godforsaken reason, they brought the fight to the other brother, Manuel's house. And then Manuel was like, yeah, I agree. You're going too fast. Apparently, Manuel had been wanting to propose to his girlfriend this year, and Luis told him he shouldn't until after the wedding because they deserve for the focus to be on them, which had to have come from Katie because there's no universe where Luis would ever care about that. Obviously, I'm hearing all of this secondhand because afterwards, Manuel came back with Gabe and they were telling me. I got kind of mad because I'm like, you cannot be ganging up on your brother. He's just a delicate person, you know? And he's been through a lot. And they didn't like me saying that and brought their parents into it. Like I said, they're just a dramatic family sometimes, and I am not, so I don't get it. So now I'm just stressed and I have no answers. I haven't been sleeping well lately, and this is stressful and not helping. Luis or Katie haven't said anything. Frickin' Gretchen texted Gabe another TikTok, and he just responded that he doesn't have TikTok and went to bed. I guess we'll probably just go to the ceremony and go home with our daughter. I was kind of looking forward to a night off, but it's fine. Manuel's girlfriend, Becca, and I are close. We were chatting about this, and we both decided this was the brothers' thing to figure out, and we should stay out of it. Like, we're not trying to hang up on anyone, and in the end, it is their wedding, so we'll just do what we're told. I was supposed to go study with my bestie today at her sorority house and leave my daughter with Gabe, but I just felt like he was going to be so hungover and could use a relaxing morning. So I just took her with me. Her one roommate had asked the other day if I could bring her over, partially because she's nice and loves babies, but partially because she gets credit for her child development class. But anyways, we were taking a break, and on Instagram, and Gretchen, who does not follow me, but my profile is public, liked a post from 3 years ago, and my friend's like, she's going to single white female you. And I've never seen the movie, but I get the gist. So she also went back and unliked the post. That's embarrassing. I guess if you never hear back from me, just assume I was unalived by a rabid bridesmaid. We're all way too old for this BS. I know. Gabe is up and working on a project with his brothers. See what I mean? Where they fight and it's usually fine. So hopefully I'll have more answers tonight. He's so hungover today. Update 2. So the wedding date changed from June to April, by the way. And now things have gotten even weirder. So I've had the vid the last few days. Bad. So when Katie called me this morning, I stupidly thought she was calling to see if I needed anything. Gabe and I live with his parents for now, but he's been at Katie and Luis's every day after work this week, helping them with a renovation project, and has brought our daughter. It's a safe space. He's just working on the electrical box, since I can't watch her this sick, and his parents already help out during the day a lot. So she knows I'm very sick, but decides to call me to invite me to the bachelorette. She's treating it like an olive branch, but get this. She's literally asking me to work. Apparently, enough girls dropped out, and they're now going to Napa instead of Miami. And instead of hiring a driver, she thought it was a great and magnanimous idea to offer to let me come. I won't even need to pay for the hotel I would share, just my flight. Oh, and I would need to drive them around the entire time. You're not a chauffeur.
That's crazy.
I hate her and her sister, but one of her sisters is cool, and her friends seem nice, but no way.
No.
I work on weekends and I'm in school. Why would I take that time and spend it chauffeuring her around? I was aghast she even offered it and basically said, with being sick, now I was missing out on a lot of hours and houses to clean, side hustle, and didn't want to be behind in school. I'm not paying for a flight to California. I haven't told Gabe. He's still an apprentice at work, so I only contact him while he's working with emergencies per his request. I want him to find this funny, but I know he'll get mad about it. And that's the end of that story, folks.
Oh my gosh.
Seems like nothing is really resolved.
My boyfriend's family said I caused his struggles because I'm ill.
Maybe they caused his struggles.
And trigger warning, there's verbal abuse in this story. So I, 33 female, and my boyfriend, 34 male, have been together for 5 years and met during the pandemic in between lockdowns. I had life-saving surgery when I was 19, and I've lived with chronic illness for over half of my lifetime. I met my in-laws after the pandemic, and all seemed well at first. The city my partner and I live in was stuck in a local lockdown for 9 months, whereas our families were not affected by this. As a result, my partner fell into a deep depression and wouldn't seek help. I'm Angie.
I'm Sophia.
2 years into our relationship, things felt uncomfortable around his family, but we had only met in person a handful of times, so I put it down to us not being around one another that often, and it just being awkward. A few months later, my partner told me that he'd called his sister that evening when she said her husband, and their mom were blaming me for his depression, and that going out and living with someone who's chronically ill was the cause of his mental health struggles. For context, he knew about everything before we even had our first date, and I have been upfront from day one. Around the same time, we went to visit as his dad was having a big birthday party at a venue. I have a medication that I need to take at night, and I start to withdraw past a point. My partner asked his sister ahead of time what time they wanted to stay till and who was driving. This was so that we could make sure we were prepared. She told him that they would be driving back mid to late evening, and that meant that I wouldn't have to carry my medication on my person and could leave it back at the house. But she lied. Classic.
Always classic liar.
Classic. Long story short, I went into withdrawal and felt horrendous for the next few days. Everyone had been very cold towards me when we left. After a few months later, she messaged and I politely asked what I was doing to make people think that I was making their son/brother depressed. She then blew up in my face. She said that I'm selfish and use her brother after he'd bought me up a drink in her house because I was lying down trying to calm down my tremors. She then said, if your medication is that important, then why didn't you bring it? And back then, I'd made the mistake of over-explaining myself. A lot more was said, but essentially, it was implied that I bring nothing to the relationship and treat him like a doormat. A month went by, and I said, let's just move forward, and didn't ask for an apology.
It's really none of her business what the relationship. I mean, like, as long, I don't know. I feel like they're just making problems up.
Yeah, absolutely. And the fact that she just in general doesn't have any sympathy for like the medication, it's like, oh, why did you be prepared? Why did you have to ruin it with your chronic illness?
I'm
like,
so sorry.
Like, what? It's like, calm down and maybe care for her.
Agreed.
For real. My father-in-law and mother-in-law had also gotten involved, and the mother-in-law saying the cruelest things out of the four of them. The following month, they were coming to the city we live in to do Christmas shopping, and then, as an afterthought, asked my partner if we'd like to meet them for dinner. Now, for context, I'm missing a huge section of my digestive system, which means my diet is restrictive. She kept suggesting places to eat to my partner that she knew I couldn't eat at, and in the end, I suggested somewhere that I knew would be liked by everyone attending. By this point, I didn't have anyone on social media. I've had all manner of things said to me about my health, but I do my best, and just because it may look easy, it doesn't mean that it is. A few months later, my back buckled, and I was laid up in bed in agony. TikTok had popped up a "do you know this person?" and it was my sister-in-law. I was trying to create awareness about neurodivergence and living with a stoma. And after everything, I didn't want her to see the videos and judge me further, so I blocked the account. A week later, she texted my partner saying that she'd gone to view it. We didn't know that she was actively searching it and couldn't view it. Asked her husband to look for it, and it popped up for him. So she refused to speak to me directly, even when I tried to call. I told my partner to tell her the truth. I didn't want close family or in-laws, etc., looking at it, and she blew off, claiming that I was lying and posting it for the whole world to see.
I don't have a TikTok, but I wouldn't want my parents or family to watch it unless unless it was like a lot of people post kind of personal, unless you're a big content creator.
Right.
A lot of it is more personal, so it makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, some things it's like, all depends on how you're going about your social media. But
it just depends on what you're posting.
Exactly.
But if you were like posting something kind of personal.
Yeah, and especially if these people are already so judgmental and mean to her, it's like, that's what you need to explain. It's like,
you've already been pretty rude to me about
about the things that I'm going to be talking about.
My medical history.
So I knew you didn't want to hear about it.
Yeah. So I took it.
I didn't want you to hear about it.
Decision away from you.
Exactly. This was my breaking point. I lowered myself and left a video there to hurt her, because if she continued to snoop when she was asked not to, she would make it known. The video had no one tagged, no names mentioned, just an empty caption. The video stated that my content wasn't for her, that it was for creating awareness and building a community, but she didn't get her own way and had hurt my partner and me in the process. To which I ended it with, so if you still haven't learned your lesson and you're watching this right now, go F yourself. So as predicted, she did. Later that morning, we found out that she'd saved the video and sent it around to everyone, making me out to be a monster.
Well, like, unfortunately, not that you are at all. Like, she's definitely the a-hole here.
Right.
But it doesn't make you look good.
Yeah.
That's why, just like
exactly
avoiding anything that makes you look bad on social media.
Yeah.
'Cause people can twist it. Even if it literally had nothing to do with her, she could probably have twisted it. It does have something to do with her, so now you shouldn't even have to twist it.
Right. The only one who didn't fall for it was the younger brother, who said, well, you must have done something for her to have done that. Anyway, 3 years have passed. Oh, wow.
Wow.
And they had a baby in March. I helped my partner choose some baby gifts and wrapped them. They passed on their thanks via my partner. A few weeks ago, my partner traveled up to see them, and out of the blue, her and husband both said, we'd like to apologize to her. My partner and I are completely flabbergasted by this. However, I'm very wary of the intent behind it. I also had moved on and had come to terms with the fact that my in-laws do not like me, and quite frankly, the only person who matters is my partner. He's my priority and the man I chose to spend my life with. We're a great team and work hard in our relationship. His family relationship is fractured after they tried to break us up and make no attempt to repair things. Not even with him. Every close friend I've spoken to has told me to stay well away, but would any of you feel inclined to forgive them? I feel that I don't need to forgive her to be at peace with my life. I also don't hold out any hope that she's suddenly learned how to hold herself accountable for her behavior. We do have an update, but what do you think?
I don't think you necessarily have to forgive them.
Yeah.
Seems like they're not necessarily no contact with his family, right?
Yeah, maybe low. I mean, it just says that the relationship is fractured.
Yeah.
So, if they're sending baby gifts, maybe they just kind of keep their distance a little bit.
Yeah, I feel like you can keep your distance, but like be polite when you see them. Like accept the apology and be like, we're gonna be polite, but I don't want to see them all the time. It doesn't have you don't have to be friends, but you can be like polite to each other.
Exactly. But we do have an update. So I asked my partner to message his sister and asked what she was apologizing for and what she wanted out of this. After a couple of days, she responded. Here is what she had to say. I don't think that actually comes across that direct. Happy to discuss over a call or FaceTime if you want, but I think I've wanted to speak with OP since pretty early on because I know I just reacted in the heat of the moment instead of just thinking before I responded on more than one occasion, especially with my daughter here now. I feel it's even more important to make amends because I want you both to be in her life and life is too short. Like we said the other week, we want OP to feel comfortable and happy meeting us or coming to family functions. I know she's important to you, and that means she's important to us. I made mistakes and need to own that and apologize. Well, that sounds nice.
We're getting somewhere.
Yeah, because it's definitely possible, like, even if, the relationship was fractured, it's not too late to build that up again.
I don't think anything happened that was like, relationship destroying forever.
Right. Myself and several of you called it with the daughter. I'm surprised that she's confessed that she made mistakes and needs to own up to it, as historically, her and the rest of the family are used to getting away with their crappy behavior. I still don't know where I sit with all of it, mainly because so many people say things but never put the physical work into it. I'm not meeting them in person. It would be at least a 2 hours drive there and back to meet halfway, and I'm stuck in a cycle of pain flares. They're not worth spending the spoons on. However, I've told my partner I'll agree to a video call on our own terms. So what are your thoughts on this message? Although I'm pleasantly surprised by the response, I wouldn't trust her as far as I could throw her. And we do have some comments. So, comment number 1 says, first of all, you're not overreacting. They sound like they're quite toxic. Your partner needs to seek professional help for his depression if it's still really bad. Ignoring it won't make it go away. Other than that, if you don't feel the need to forgive her, then don't forgive her. She has to earn your forgiveness. And that doesn't happen with just an apology. They've been horribly disrespectful to you. You owe them nothing. They owe you more than a simple apology. It's up to you and your partner, but you're not wrong if you choose not to forgive her. Go no contact with the entire family. In the long run, it would be better for you both in terms of physical and mental health anyway. OP responds, my partner got his crap together in the end, thankfully, and has defended me to his family since the last incident. I had surgery planned for last December, and due to having a dodgy immune system, we chose to semi-isolate in the run-up to my op, so I didn't catch the vid. His grandma passed away, and the funeral was a month before, so he chose to attend virtually. His parents lashed out, and he said, I loved my grandma dearly, but my partner is my priority, and I'm standing by my decision. That was the first time that he ever stood up to them, and it was a huge breakthrough. Sometimes I do wish that he was more confident, but his family made him feel so small growing up. And that's the end of that story. Okay, so I mean, that makes sense that it was like, it's more than just this situation. It's kind of a thing, a way that he's been treated by them his whole life.
Yeah.
So it definitely makes sense that it, you know.
Seems like they're kind of coddling him a little bit.
Yeah.
Giving birth was already hard, but my mother-in-law is making it harder.
You're supposed to help in this situation, girl.
I'm here to share my negative birth experience. It involves my mother-in-law, Kathy is her name, a useless midwife to whom I paid $5,000 of cash, and unhelpful hospital BS. When I went into labor, my husband, 24 male, called his mother and told her the news. She was planning to drive over 10 hours to be ready to meet the baby when he was born. I planned on a home birth and had a midwife and a doula. They had been great all throughout the pregnancy until the day I went into labor. It obviously wasn't the plan, but I labored at home for over 30 hours. Oh my God.
Oh.
During active labor, the midwife finally showed up, but did nothing to participate. She and the doula hung out in my living room, lounging around and giggling back and forth while I was in the bedroom struggling to cope.
Oh my
what?
gosh.
I'm sorry.
What are you there for? That's what you're supposed to do.
I'm sorry. They're like, oh my God. My husband was doing the best he could as my support person with his very little knowledge and was trying to counter pressure on my back. He wasn't doing it quite right, so it was actually more painful than helpful. When he needed to rest, my mother stepped in to help me through contractions. Again, the midwife and doula did nothing to coach or comfort me when it would have been very helpful. This was my first birth experience, so I didn't know how to ask for what I needed. I was quickly getting to my exhaustion limit and still not fully dilated. Years away, you can imagine the pain I was in. Every 2 minutes, I felt an urge like I had explosive diarrhea while cramping across my lower back and midsection with intensity and crippling pain of a Charlie horse. They last 30 seconds each. I was strictly forbidden to surrender to this urge to push and had to hold it back with all the energy I had left. If I did give in and push, I would damage my cervix since I wasn't fully dilated. This is what I was dealing with while my midwife spent a full hour making up her mind whether or not to call an ambulance to transport me to a hospital 40 minutes away so I could get an epidural and finally relax enough to progress. My husband was begging her to please make a decision because that's what we hired her for. She finally called the squad and they showed up within 10 minutes. Kathy had been at her hotel for almost a full day at this point and was blowing up my husband's phone, complaining that it was taking too long and she would not have any time to spend with the baby. I'm sorry, the birth? You're complaining about the length of time of the birth? It's not really up to OP. I'm sure she wouldn't want to have a 30-hour labor.
Yeah, maybe if you did something to help, it wouldn't be so long.
Hubby told her he'd call when the baby was born and to understand this was not about her or her timing. When we finally got to the hospital, I was throwing up, contracting every minute, and still holding back from pushing. Kathy was still incessantly calling and texting, explaining that she should never have come if we weren't going to let her in the hospital while the baby was being born. The issue was there was a certain number of passes allowed for support people in the delivery room, and they were already taken up by my hubby, my mother, and my midwife. My husband explained this to Kathy and told her there was nothing he could do. She would just have to wait. Instead of understanding that we were doing the best we could, she continued calling and texting, crying and whining about how unfair it was, stressing my husband even more than he already was. It was then time for me to start pushing. Finally! OP, you've made it. You're so close. The doctor on duty told my midwife to hold my legs since I was paralyzed from the waist down from the epidural. She replied that she doesn't hold legs and to ask someone else. I flipped out on her and screamed, "Then what am I paying you for?" I was fuming, and I would have had the capability, I would have punted her in the throat. Everyone's eyes got wide, and the room got quiet until some nurses stepped in to do what the doctor said. Finally, after 36 hours of labor, my baby boy was born. I was dissociated, exhausted, and traumatized. I didn't even want to hold him. I just wanted to sleep. My midwife left, opening up a support person pass that we allowed Kathy to have in her stead. When she came a few hours later, she didn't even seem happy to be there. She was moody and acted like she had been inconvenienced. The lactation consultant came in during Kathy's visit to help me with breastfeeding. I was in tears at this point because I was in so much pain attempting to nurse my baby. Kathy kept trying to insert herself over the lactation consultant, even though she was never able to successfully feed her any of her children. I snapped at her to sit down, and I don't need one more person telling me what I'm doing wrong. She got quiet.
Good.
The rest of the time she was there, she hardly said a word to me.
Good. Shut up.
Yeah. You need to be quiet. I stayed 2 more days in the hospital because I was still struggling to nurse my son. And that is an expensive stay. Also, it sucks because she paid $5,000 for the midwife to not have to probably,
Yeah, to have a home birth.
Yeah, to home birth and not have all of those hospital expenses.
Yeah.
It felt like I was being sliced with razor blades every time he sucked. Oh my gosh, no.
I'm never having children.
No.
I can't do that.
No, guys, no. The pediatric doctor, nurses, and lactation consultants all checked him for a lip and a tongue tie and told us he did not have any and that there must be something wrong with me. What do you mean? I called my midwife because part of the services I paid her for was being my lactation consultant. The hospital refused to give her the third pass that my mother-in-law returned after she left, giving me some weird policy about personal staff not being allowed back in after they left. Not even during visiting hours? During this time, I was threatened by a nurse who told me if I didn't figure it out or give the baby formula, they would not let me take him home. OP's trying. OP's literally trying. It wasn't until late at night on the second day someone finally thought to offer me a pump. I sobbed with relief when I was finally able to get enough milk to feed him with a medicine dropper. Yeah, is everyone dumb? Is everyone at this hospital plus the midwife stupid?
Oh my gosh.
I was finally discharged the third day and so relieved to be going home. We found out later through a dentist, my son had both a lip and a tongue tie, and that's why his latch was so painful. Oh, so all the time when the doctors were like, no, he doesn't have one, it must be a you thing. Are these doctors stupid?
Apparently.
They haven't done anything right.
Well, I'm so angry for OP right now.
Dude, I wouldn't pay anyone anything.
Yeah, I would get the
one
doctor's note, slam it on the hospital desk, and be like, I need to talk to someone.
You guys suck.
You guys suck, and I'm not paying you a dime for whatever you were doing in there.
There was nothing wrong with me, and it could have all been fixed within an hour had one staff member been competent. 2 years later, my son is healthy and happy, and he now has a little sister. Yay! They're 16 months apart, and I was able to have the home birth of my dreams, peaceful and perfect. As for mother-in-law, we didn't let her come until a whole month later. I'm so thankful for my supportive husband and mother, who were there for me when I needed them most. I know this post was long, but thanks for sticking with it and reading till the end. I can't wait to read some of your juicy mother-in-law and birth experiences. Spill all the tea in the comments. Edit for anyone who is caught up in the fact that I wanted a home birth. It's very common where I'm from, and just based on my own experience with the hospital my first time, I won't be itching for another birth there anytime soon.
Yeah.
Also, my first midwife was highly recommended to me by a friend who had 2 kids with her help. She was highly reviewed by others and is well known by the hospitals and doctors in the area who work with her. I just happened to have a bad experience And who knows how much of it was my perception versus reality. I found my dream team that I will stick with now, and I'm grateful to have services like this available to me so I can make the choice to give birth in the peace of my home. And there are some comments. Comment 1 says, wow, I hope you gave terrible reviews to the useless midwife and doula. Reply says, I hope you reported her to the licensing agency. OP says, in the state I love, there is no midwife license required to practice. Yeah,
What?
that's obvious. That lady has never been licensed for anything. That's
crazy.
a lady you found on the street.
I bet she can't even drive.
Reply, so anyone can just say, hey, I'm a midwife. No oversight, no certification.
Yeah.
That's scary. OP says there are limited rules, but there is no official certification. All midwives have to be doulas first, and they do have to get an education. You can ask a midwife to see any certificates they do hold, even though they aren't required by law, and look at the reviews. My second midwife doesn't have a website, but she's about 70 years old and delivered several of my friends. Not my friends' babies, but my actual friends. She's also delivered a quarter of the millennial gen Amish population in my state, so I knew she knew what she was doing. Comment 2 says, I'm a nurse, and I'm personally appalled by this country's treatment of pregnant and postpartum women. I would be absolutely terrified to have a baby in this country. There is no field of medicine where the staff is more dismissive of their patients than women's health. The one time I had to work in a hospital with a women's health wing, I was infuriated by the patients I received from them in ICU. Just flat out ignored signs and symptoms of problems until patients were basically crashing. I still get angry over the case of a black woman who bled out because staff ignored blatant signs of post-op bleeding. Comment 3 says, OP, your husband should have just shut off his phone for God's sake. Reply, I have also thought the husband was also part of the problem, as he was allowing constant texts and phone calls from his mother to impact his own mental health and stress, which made him even more useless to his wife as he was distracted by his mummy and her needs. I never understand why people don't silence notifications. Mother-in-law knows where they are and was told that she would get a call when everything was said and done. That literally should have been it. Husband should have ceased all communication with her and focused on his wife. And that's the end of that story. But I agree. Yeah, next time, if you have another baby, don't let your mom keep calling. Block her. Turn on silent.
Yeah.
Do not disturb. All
Right.
that jazz.
And I mean, when they did have that second baby, they said that she wasn't allowed there until a month after the baby was born.
Perfect.
So,
Perfect.
great. You guys made all of the correct
Yeah.
decisions the second time.
You had a trial run the first time.
Yeah.
Figured it out on the second.
Learn the hard way.